many years, security personnel deployed in the Niger Delta to guard oil installations and stop crude oil bunkering turned themselves into oil bandits in collusion with some international oil companies, IOCs, government officials, and all of them became oil criminals. Well, Channels Television did a very good job, and what we saw indicated that it is not just some boys or bandits out there or some militants out there who are doing this job. The job that we saw, the oil theft, the level of oil theft that we saw shows that NNPC, oil companies, international criminals, oil companies, and the government are involved in the same thing. So the problem is this: who is going to arrest who? If the government, and when we talk about government, we are talking about people high up there. In fact, a governor said that, I'm talking of Wike, he said that the police that is attached to his own state had his own vessel, and he was simply going on shore to drill oil. He was simply pumping oil and doing his own deal. They have these rogue international criminals who bring in their vessels to take, and you know how these things work. They either bring weapons and they take the crude, or they bring the money, cash. Do not forget that there's not going to be any bank transfer. Cash, real dollars, euros. They bring it in, they do what they need to do, they pack their tankers, their barge, they move with the oil out of the shores of Nigeria. Now, in those days, they used to blame community folks and minor bunkers. And when I use the word minor bunkers, I'm not saying they are not criminals. It's just that the level at which this aforementioned group of people operate is high up there. We are talking about vessels that can transport 3 million. That is what I'm talking about now. We are not talking about just mega 100. We are not talking about that. We are talking about 3 million capacity tankers, and they take this off from the shores. And this has been going on for as far back as 1970s, 80s till now. And this illegal refining of crude oil, amateur technology in the creeks, are all we've known and seen. They say, oh, those Niger Deltas, those people, those folks in those community, they are the one into this oil bunkering. And there is something that is worthy of note. When Channels Television interviewed the NNPC officials, they pretended, they first came up with, oh, it's been on for 9 years. After a while, they say it's been there for 6 years. For you to know how long it has been there, it means you know about it. That is what it is. So it's a collusion. They are all joining hands together. Yes. Now, Minister of State for Resources, Chief Timprier Silva, and Group Managing Director of NNPCL, Dr. Mele Kyari, under immense pressure from the president to stop increase in oil theft, thought outside of the box. Silva and Kyari had been in contact separately and mutually with the former leader of the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta government, Ekpemu Polo. That is his name. Government Ekpemu Polo, alias Tompolo, for more than a year over the worsening theft. Now, Tompolo himself is not clean and clear of oil bunkering, militancy, and all of that. It's like both of these things are joined together. He said he's fighting for his people, which is right for him to do. And in between, because they need weapons, apart from kidnapping of oil expatriates to serve as a deterrent, they also make money from it, and they also involve in the same business. So it's more or less like a scattered and divided and upside down venture. They are all into it, criminal activists, everything joined together. This oil theft has been there for years. We are not talking of 20 years now. We are not talking, it has been there. They've been looting. We are talking about huge tankers. And they come out to talk and pretend the minister will come to speak this way, the other will come to speak this way. This has been on for a very long time. Most of you must have kind of wondered how weapons of mass destruction come into Nigeria. I'm talking of AK, assault rifle, surface rifle, aircraft, weapons, and many other that we all see around us, particularly in the northern part of Nigeria. Where do you think this come from? They drill your oil, they negotiate, bring me weapons, and once the weapons are brought, there are people who are ready to take the weapons, and this is how they do it, vice versa. Now, the discussion they had with Tompolo, somehow they got convinced, and they felt that since the Nigerian Navy, who are supposed to be the security, the DSS, who are supposed to be involved, since they are all in this, since they are all criminals together, they said, all right, let us get a private body to monitor and to secure and watch over the creeks, the pipelines. They felt that this could be a magic wand. But each time Tompolo's need came up in Aso Villa and private meetings, some top security officials said, no, this is not a good idea. And Tompolo said, you know, they are afraid because they know that once I come in there, all their criminal activities will come to an end. I will bring out names, if they push me, of people who are involved in oil theft, from government down to the security agents. Well, this is what it is. This is what it is. It's terrible. It is terrible. So, right now, it seems they will bring in Tompolo or bring in some other agents, people who have criminal records. They are going to bring them together. Silva and Kyari approached Buhari on this, and they said, no, let us accept, let us agree, let him do the job. Let him do the job. They did not find it difficult getting the buy-in of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, who already had the instructions of the Commander-in-Chief to confront the situation head-on and bring the perpetrators to book. Finally, Buhari, who has been convicted, he has been convinced, approved the hiring of Tompolo, especially as the private surveillance contractors who had been on the job in the last few years had done little. Why? Because to them, this is a joint business with huge money. We are talking about a tanker, if successfully comes to shore, takes what it needs to take. We are talking about huge amount of money. We are talking about, for example, $900 million at a go. $900 million. So let's say this is halved. This is money, cool money in their pockets. So the trio of Irabo, Silva, Kyari are together on this. Let us find out, are they bringing in Tompolo so as to share money in their own pockets too? Tompolo's engagement by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited triggered quite some controversy, but Silva and Kyari are unmoved by the many distractions. They said, you know what? Tompolo will do the job. The oil cabal allegedly sponsored a campaign of calumny against Tompolo, recruiting some youths to protest against the ex-militant leader handling pipeline surveillance contracts in their areas. It was not surprising when the former militant leader who boasted he knows the in and out of all the creeks in the Niger Delta started making startling discoveries less than a year after his company, Tantina Security Services Nigeria Limited, got engaged in this. Working with selected security officials, Tompolo men uncovered large-scale and sophisticated oil theft machinery going on in the deep swamps at Yokri, close to Focado's terminal. According to report, experts use high-power technology to steal crude oil from the Trans-Focados pipeline, which belongs to the NNPCL and its partner, and they convey it through a 4-kilometer underwater pipeline to a platform in the sea, where they loaded it into vessels and they sell overseas. They said they have discovered at least 58 illegal connections to the Trans-Escravos, Trans-Focados, and other major trunk lines by oil bunkers in Delta and Bayelsa states. October 6, operatives of the ex-militant leader laid ambush for a suspected oil syndicate and apprehended the captain and 7 other crew members while they were pumping crude oil from an illegal connection they affixed to a Chevron pipeline in the Warri River. This is how it is. Now, why the authorities permitted the burning of the 87-meter-long ocean-going vessel MT Dino and over 650 cubic meters of crude oil recovered from the crew, which ought to be evidence for the prosecution of the suspects. Now, everything is more or less like a mystery. At the end of the day, we don't need to shout and scream too much. All of this points to one thing. It points to criminals in government, security agents, and also NNPC, private oil companies all joined together. This is what it is. They are all criminals from the beginning to the end. Beginning to the end. This is what they are doing with Nigeria.